Now, music education hubs are groups of organisations like local authorities, schools, other hubs, art organisations, community or voluntary organisations. And they work together to create joined-up music education provision, respond to local need and fulfil the objectives of the hub as set out in the National Plan for Music Education. National Plan for Music Education? We'll hear more about that shortly. The total amount of hub funding from the Department of Education in the 19-20 financial year was £75.84 million. They are in fact a crucial part of the infrastructure for ensuring that every child aged 5 to 18 has the opportunity to sing, learn a musical instrument and benefit from rewarding musical experiences. So let's find out more about what a typical music hub does. I chatted to Head of Business Development at the Cambridgeshire Music Hub, Julia Yent, and I started off by asking Julia whether hubs are some kind of statutory body or not and how their funding works.
So we don't fall within the definition of a statutory service within a local authority. We're outside that definition, but we have a funding agreement with Arts Council England, which ultimately comes from the Department for Education. So absolutely, there is a framework around that we work to. And that was first of all published in something you may have heard of, the National Plan for Music Education.
Ah, yes, the National Plan for Music Education. I mentioned that a moment ago. So what is it? Well, you can find and download this comprehensive 2011 report from the government website. And if, like me, you've ever been worried that the importance of music education has somehow been overlooked, then this report does something to reassure, not least because it opens with some very fine quotes from Aristotle and Plato. Music has a power of forming the character and should therefore be introduced into the education of the young. Music is a moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, and life to everything. Without music, life would be an error. I'll let Julia Yent explain more about the framework that was set out in this report, comprising a number of core principles.
So what you have in that framework is 8 core principles. So the first one is about first access. So giving all young people an opportunity to try learning an instrument. The second one is about playing together, so that the idea that you learn through playing with other people and having a go from the get-go is very much embedded in this framework. But of course, that's not just at first access. That's also providing support for young people throughout their progression through different ensemble levels. And we see it as our role to support young people on that journey all the way up to the national youth ensembles. And the third one is called progression, and that's taking on the learning from that initial encounter. That's the core tuition element you would think of in the music service. And then the fourth one is singing. So the aim there is that all young people have the opportunity to sing regularly. So that's a wonderful aim to be working for. And that, as you can imagine, has all sorts of different flavours.
So we heard there about 4 core principles that underpin the work of the Music Hub as set out by the National Plan for Music Education. Those principles being first access, playing together, progression and singing. The idea behind first access is to introduce children at key stages 1 to 3 to learning an instrument through weekly whole class instrumental lessons. And as Julia said, these core principles have lots of different flavours in terms of how they are realised in real life situations. And over these short documentaries, I hope to bring you lots of examples of how these core principles are being translated into exciting projects, thanks to some of our finest orchestras and ensembles, including the Halle Orchestra and the Ulster Orchestra in Belfast, but also through the inspiring work of charities such as Awards for Young Musicians.